cold, hard, sexy is what I'm kind of feeling about this album, possibly. But hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy, Matt Diazable, coming at you with a new music review. If you're just now discovering me, thanks for finding me. I hope you like what you see. If you're coming back, you the best. Thank you for sticking it out. Today, I'm checking out the latest release from a band called Venera. I think that's how you pronounce it, with their latest album called Exinfinite. Venera is a industrial and I guess metal like music project created by two people, one member being Munky from Korn. If you don't know, Korn, the big new metal band from the 90s, still putting out a lot of stuff. He's half of the group, while another guy called Chris Hunt, which, you know, his I guess credit to fame is he's a music composer and music writer in the LA scene. And from what I could look up on the band's history, they met up at some point and kind of were vibing with each other. And, you know, this is how this band started. This is their second release. They released their self-titled, I think, in 2023. And this newest album is a little bit more of an not industrial, but an instrumental album with some guest vocals here and there. Their first album they put out apparently had a lot more vocals on it compared to this newest album they've put out. And from what the band members have said, you know, it's just two guys coming together in a room and just churning out music in a very dark like way, like you're digging in a deep mine, from what they said. And I discovered this band because it came up on my Spotify recommendation, had no idea what it was. And the thing that gravitated or made me gravitate to it was, you know, Munky from Korn is in. And I was like, oh, he's doing other stuff? I would like to check that out because I enjoy Korn quite a bit. So that's how we got here. And let's talk about this newest album, Exinfinite. From what I've gathered from listening to this album, it simply doesn't just play to you as you listen. It kind of like weirdly and mysteriously unfolds and unravels as you go deeper into the album. It kind of like creeps in all slowly, like a computer booting up late at night. And as it's booting up, it has this sense of like, you know, ghosts of machines long lost and like the feeling of human despair all wrapped up in these songs. And so across 9 tracks, the duo has been able to craft something here that feels weirdly, I want to say ancient, but at the same time quite futuristic. And a good way I can summarize it is the opening track, Tear. It feels like a medieval cathedral just collapsing into like the mainframe of a cyberpunk futuristic dystopian feel. Like those two worlds are just merging with this record. And I want to say the music here invokes a sense of dread, both not just emotionally, but physically as well. It's the kind of music that just hums in the deepest parts of your bones. The synths are wailing like sirens, and the bass is just dragging you down into this very like subterranean world. The percussion work on this record just feels like, you know, it's snapping with so much tension, like you're standing at the edge of the world. And this oppressive darkness that they've created with the opening song, Tear, carries over into the next song, Flatline, where the tempo is rising here and the pulse feels more like, you know, a life support machine that's slowly declining than a heart that's coming back to life. The band's strength really lies in their ability to make, you know, mechanical sounds sound quite haunting. Their drum machines are clattering like broken machines. Static bursts just crack in like interfaces from another dimension and world. And yet there's this really weird sense of serenity amongst all this bleakness that they're creating here. There's this like hypnotic reputation that just makes the decay on this album sound so beautiful. So when vocals come in on the song All Midnights featuring Chelsea Wolfe, it's the first time this album is getting like a ghostly human form to it, because up until this point, it's been very instrumental, very haunting, very, very like bleak and everything, but the vocals add a nice touch to the overall sound of the record. Her vocals here particularly feel less sung and feel like, you know, they're being summoned here with her very slow, sensual anguish that becomes like a siren call for the record. The track's industrial twanginess and, you know, the shadowy guitar work here make it sound like a hymn for those who worship at the altar of like neon and rust. There's a world they're creating here with these tracks. And her vocals kind of float between this world of like digital winds and spectral whispers. And so it invokes this weird sense of this like pain of like a memory of what human warmth was like in a land where it's just long forgotten. That tension only deepens further with the song Extrilizon, I don't know how to pronounce it, which sounds like, it's funneling everything into this very dying city energy. Here, there's a storm of sound where the bass and the static just merge into something that feels very uncomfortably alive. And here, I started to notice that the mechanical funk that the band is bringing here kind of reminds me of Nine Inch Nails, and yet keeps things quite spectral and a little bit more vaporous than Nine Inch Nails, but there's a little bit of an influence there for sure. And the music throughout this whole record just feels like there's this sense of waiting to it, like it's waiting for things to collapse or just to transcend into something greater. And it just, builds on that tension throughout the album. The second track to feature like vocals on this record, End Undiscovered, featuring Disfig, the duo really perfects the whole idea of less is more. Because on this particular track, there's very sparse elements throughout the whole song that just crash into one another with some very surgical precision. And Disfig's fragile vocals are just really gliding over everything, especially this very aggressive and very relentless beat that they're creating here. As the song builds upon itself, there's these layers of voices and noises that just multiply and multiply before everything just explodes. It doesn't explode loudly. If anything, it just explodes more on an emotional level. And I would say it's the highlight of the record, merging mechanical precision with human vulnerability, recalling some very, very catharsis moments that remind me of Bjork. Then you have the song You 773 that just drags us all the way back into the depths, into some very dark and echoey corridors of bass playing and ghostly synths. So this track gives that feeling of being in an abandoned city or an abandoned dock where every little noise could just mean danger. You just lost in this very empty space, and yet it just feels so suffocating. And I would say this particular track is, the purest sense of descending into a very cinematic feel of dread, where every silent moment just feels super heavy. Then on one of the last tracks to have vocals, called Caroline, they have FK Twigs that comes in on this track, and it just feels like a very spectral light, a very delicate soul flickering amongst all this chaotic machinery energy. Her airy delivery really contrasts sharply with the album's density, bringing an almost pop-like clarity to this very gritty, distorted, and metallic sounding overall song and just vibes. I would say Twig's voice kind of becomes the ghost in Verna's machine. It's ethereal, it's human, and it's just heartbreakingly fragile. And just like all the features before, her feature doesn't really break the album's atmosphere. If anything, it builds upon it, it deepens it, it gives it a voice to this very haunted album that they're making. And so by the time we get to the song Meridians, it feels like the listener is adrift and just gliding over a neon lit cityscape that's just both beautiful and very broken at the same time. The tempo picks back up, the synths shimmer with a very digital anxiety to them. It's very sleek, but a little bit soulless, mechanical, yet strongly emotional. It's this weird moment of transcendence that feels like, a drone flying over the remains of humanity, wondering, was this progress or was this extinction that humans got to this point? And then the final song, Decreation, kind of closes the record, not with resolution, but kind of like a ritual feel to it. It's a very, very minimal song, so it feels like, the band is performing a requiem for the digital age. The bass here rumbles like the earth is mourning itself. And every haunting synth accent just feels quite deliberate. Put it simply, it just feels like, the fading heartbeat of a dying world. So in the end, Exinfinite just doesn't really just end, it kind of fades away. And I would say its silence is just as meaningful as all of the noise they created here. Sometimes, like I said before, less is more, and they're doing a really good job of that. It's definitely an album that just breathes and lives on contrast, between noise and stillness, flesh and circuitry, light and shadow. Is going back and forth between these different ideas. The album can be quite cold yet emotional at the same time, yet distant yet so immersive. It's just balancing out all these different ideas so nicely. And each track just builds on the last one by adding so much complexity to the overall like sequencing and the overall feel of the album. But it doesn't ever really strip away anything that is unnecessary, leaving only what's left here as a pure, like, experimental, heavy project these guys have made. It's simply raw emotion that is filtering through metal and machinery. And to put it simply, it's not a collection of songs, it's a world being built here. And being inside of it feels like you're witnessing the end of something. Or on the flip side, you're witnessing something like the beginning of a new world. It's that contrast. It's ending, it's beginning, it's light, it's dark, it's human, it's mechanical, it's all these things. It's the yin and yang, and they do a really good job of balancing out these interesting sounds. So my first time listening to Venera, I think that's how you pronounce it, Exinfinite, gotta say, pretty interesting listen and everything, quite immersive. I would have to give it a good and decent 8.5 out of 10. Links down below. Tell me what you think about this album. And until next time, guys, see you in the pit.